What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckmine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers made a minor move yesterday that we did not talk about. We'll talk about it today. Plus, it's Friday. The offseason is here. We are within the abyss. There is as much nothing as there could possibly be in the NFL right now, but we're going to dive into what to expect from the Pittsburgh Steelers over the next 5 weeks before training camp as we go through this down, boring time and try to come out with a little bit of something. Jake, it's a good one here. It was rainy all night. It gave us spurts, though. You'd get like a good 15 minutes, go outside, get a little fresh air, and then boom, raining once again. Today looks like a good one. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm happy it's Friday. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I want to hang loose a little bit. I'm feeling like I want to shake out of the abyss that we are, as you so eloquently put it, in the off season. But yeah, I think I'm doing all right, man. I'm eager to hear your thoughts about this organizational shifting move that we did not cover yesterday.
A massive day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it is one that we avoided it. We didn't talk about it at all yesterday because, to be quite honest with you, didn't think it was worth talking about. And then I started having conversations last night just with like random people, you know what I mean? Texting some buddies. It started in a group chat where somebody said, "Yo, Noah, does this mean that Cordell Patterson's here to stay?" And we're going, "Oh, man, dude, maybe." Just maybe, but you're kind of hoping not. At the same time, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is where we'll start today, they released Jonathan Ward yesterday, speedster, veteran running back. He's been here for the last 2 seasons. He showed up last year during rookie minicamp. He looked pretty good. They kept him around. At some points, he was returning kicks throughout the season. He's been around the league. He's not the worst name that you could possibly have on a roster, but one that you would like on the roster, probably not. But the Pittsburgh Steelers moved on. They signed him to a futures. He was the first guy that they signed to a futures contract this offseason, which means that they clearly saw something in him. Since then, they've added Trey Sermon. Since then, Cordell Patterson has been around. They're moving on from Jonathan Ward. And while Jonathan Ward is a no topic of conversation name in the NFL right now, he does not move the needle whatsoever. There is a name behind him that everybody wants to know about. And the question emerges now that you move on from him: are the Pittsburgh Steelers just gearing up to keep Cordell Patterson? Is this where we're at? Are the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow just saying, look, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what the fan base is seeing, but this guy's part of our team and part of this plan moving forward. They released Jonathan Ward. They keep Trey Sermon. They keep Cordell Patterson. Is it a move that, in your eyes, I mean, because you're looking at it going, what are you gaining by getting rid of Jonathan Ward? You're adding reps to the guys behind him because Jaylen Warren's not going to need a boatload of reps this summer. Caleb Johnson's going to want some reps, but how many reps are you really going to give him? Not a whole ton. And Kenneth Gainwell's a veteran. Trey Sermon's going to make his spot, so hopefully he gets a ton of reps to kind of prove himself. Then Cordell Patterson. Is it a move in your eyes that says, yeah, maybe we should start getting it through our thick skulls that Cordell Patterson's here to stay?
Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but I think the release of Jonathan Ward, not that he was going to be stealing any snaps or carries once the actual regular season came up, but with him not being on the team anymore, Cordell Patterson is the running back that I have heard literally nothing about, and I heard very little about him last year.
Yeah.
And, there he was all of a sudden, and then it seems like a year later we are kind of in the same position. I think he is one of those veterans that is, just as you put it, a part of the team. And I think that, whether as the fan base likes it or not, whether it's the best roster decision, on June 20th, 2025, it doesn't seem like it, but it seems like they are shuffling the deck in order to keep a veteran around, at least as far as training camp is concerned. You know, I think when I look at it, I would imagine Cordero Patterson has a better chance of making this 53-man roster than Trey Sermon does.
Yes.
So when I look at the running back room, I would imagine the 4 would be Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, and Cordero Patterson. Does that sound like that's going to be the 4 that the Steelers go into the regular season with to you?
It does. It actually does. And I think they like Trey Sermon. I think they like what they could get out of Trey Sermon. But at the same time, like he's not a second-year guy, a third-year guy. He's a fifth-year running back in the NFL. The dude's been around. He's had opportunities to play well in the league. He's never done so. While the Steelers had interest in him coming out of Ohio State, they aren't looking at him right now saying this is a dude that is here to become the next splash running back on our roster. They're looking at him saying he's going to take some reps, and if he looks good enough, maybe he gets a shot, but chances are he's on the practice squad. And that's who they're looking at with Trey Sermon. I think it's stunning a little bit that Cordero is still here. And I think the fact that they are still making moves to identify and to lessen the competition for him is really in your eyes, if he does make the roster, okay, Cordero does make the 53-man team. What is the role? Does he have one? Last year's role was, say what you want, before the injury, significant. Before he dealt with the ankle injury, Cordero was out there. He was catching fades in the end zone in crunch time to win games. Is that where he's at this year? Like, does it matter? Are they just in love with Cordero? Do you see what is the outlook on him and his role if he does make the team?
Regardless of whether he, what his role was last year and what his, he was a significant piece of the 2024 offense before the injury. I will certainly concede that.
Yes.
But I think in 2025, there is no role for him on the Steelers offense. I don't see how he should be taking away snaps from Jalen Warren, especially when it comes to, like the passing game or pass blocking. Like I know Cordero Patterson is certainly a receiving threat in his heyday, but
yeah,
there was nothing about his performance in 2024 that made me feel like he was an essential and vital part of the Steelers offense moving forward. So I think I'm as shocked and as stunned as you are that like there is even a conversation to be had at this point of the offseason. Like I recognize he was once a great returner, had a lot of, explosivity. He had a lot of big plays, but like, I just don't, he's not going to be a kick returner or punt returner now for the Steelers. And no. I don't see what his role as a feature back would be or as a pass catching running back is. So yeah, I see no role for him on the Steelers. And unless someone can learn me something better about this, I don't know.
No. I don't think there is one. I think it's kind of mind-blowing that it doesn't make sense to have a 33-year-old veteran. I think he is at this point, which if he's another running back at 33 years old, he doesn't have a job. Like he's 33 years old. The NFL would just look at him and say, nah, this guy is too old to play running back in the league. He's past his prime. But Cordero Patterson, he's got a job because he could do it all, except he can't do anything. And you're looking at him right now saying, I'm not giving him reps at training camp. If he returns kicks for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'll give the warning now, there is a chance that the Pittsburgh Steelers are just going to say, this will be our biggest mistake of the season, and it will be Cordero being a feature guy within this roster, whether you guys like it or not. There is that opportunity, that possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would go out, and we're going to get into moves here in a second, but I would go out and I'd look for a younger option and I would look for other options. Jonathan Ward maybe wouldn't be that guy, but I wouldn't be keeping Cordero Patterson around to touch the ball 4 times during training camp, go half-assed while he's doing so, and then attempt to make a roster, really just be handed a roster at this point in his career. Doesn't make any sense. None. At all. All right.
None.
I want to have some fun on this Friday. Like I said, it's as boring as it gets in the NFL right now. There's literally nothing happening. Teams are about to go on vacation. Most of these players and their agents are taking some time off. Even guys worrying about the TJ Watt situation at this point, I would imagine those talks have dimmed quite significantly for the next couple of weeks, and then they'll pick back up at the beginning of July. But you're looking at the Steelers offseason. They've done a lot. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is their guy, their quarterback. He leads a pretty big and splashy list of moves that the Steelers have made this offseason. There might be more in the works. I want to dive into them. Before the show, we both came up with our list of the top moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers should make for the remainder of the summer between now and training camp. There's 5 weeks, I believe, at this point, maybe 4 weeks before the team reports to Latrobe and St. Vincent College. So I'll let you go first. I want your list. This is the top moves, the top 3. I think you came up with 5, so I'll let you rock with 5. Top moves the Pittsburgh Steelers should make between now and training camp.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, I did. I went for the overachiever mentality for this, and I did come up with 5 moves that I think the Steelers should make before the offseason is quote unquote over. I'll rock right into number 1, wide receiver 2. You know, I know I've been banging home that I don't think this is actually going to happen, but I stand by the fact that the Steelers should add a wide receiver 2. I think the trade is the best route. I think free agency sounds more likely. But one way or the other, got to have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. That is a legitimate weapon in the offense. Number 2, we just touched on it a second ago. You got to get TJ Watt signed. I don't care what it takes. I don't care about any of the back and forth and who wants what, who's doing what to the other. Get the deal done. Number 3, get rid of Cordero Patterson. Listen, Cordero, if you ever want to hang out, I'm down. I'm sure you're the coolest MFer in the world. This is no disrespect to you as a human. You can have dinner at my house anytime. You cannot be on the Steelers football team anymore, man. No. I just do not get it at all. Love you. Number 4. Number 4, they need a slot cornerback. I do not love Beanie Bishop being that guy. Need a starter that you believe in and have more faith in. And lastly, it wasn't really on my radar until a few days ago, until the comment section brought it up and I started doing more research and diving deep. But I think having another tackle added to this competition, either to be the swing tackle or to push, Broderick and Troy, whoever else, I think it might be a good idea for the Steelers to bring in another option for tackle and increase the competition for training camp. So I believe that is my 5, unless I skipped over anything. And I will concede the floor to Noah.
No, I like that. TJ is a must, and before training camp would just calm so many nerves. Like, you'd look at it and just go, all right, there it is. Like, at this point, you just got to add, and the Steelers could add. They have options to add. TJ was the biggest giant question mark that they've had all summer. Okay, cool. Get it done before camp. Cordero, man, we're going to dive into my list here in a second, so I'll let that one rock. Same with wide receiver 2. And to be honest, the offensive tackle is a good one because Calvin Anderson, first, I'll start by saying this, okay? Calvin Anderson was on the Christian Kuntz podcast the other day. Go watch it. And I'm talking to everybody. Go watch it. It's good. And Calvin Anderson, very interesting human being. And you're just watching it going, I like him. I like him as a dude. As a player, I just don't think that the Steelers have somebody that they could rely on right now if Broderick or Troy went down, or even worse, if Broderick stunk, which that's a possibility. That's my thoughts on the swing tackle. Is Broderick hasn't proven himself to be the guy yet. He was thrown into the role as a rookie because Chooks was terrible. As a second-year guy, he got benched for Troy Fautanu and then had to start the rest of the season because Troy got hurt, and he didn't play well. Now, as a third-year guy, you're just saying, okay, you're going to play the most important position on the offensive line. You haven't proven yourself in 2 years. Don't get me wrong, I like Broderick, and I want Broderick to get the opportunity, but there is no backup plan. There is no, for the most important position. This isn't Spencer Anderson's going to have to play guard if Mason goes down, which I'm okay with. This is Calvin Anderson is your starting left tackle for Aaron Rodgers if Broderick Jones is not good. That can't happen. And you can't just let Broderick be terrible for a year. That can't happen either. So I agree with you. I think to me, the most underrated, most pressing need the Steelers have. In all honesty, wide receiver 2, I think there are going to be options. I think TJ is going to be just fine. I think you're going to have options at slot corner. I don't know where your options are at offensive tackle. And I mean, we could pull up, I have actually the list right in front of me here for left tackles that are still available. And there's not many. Jedrick Wills is going to take the season off. George Fant is still out there, but I mean, he's a right tackle. Chooks, not happening. Isaiah Wynn, maybe, but has never been able to be that guy. Maybe you bring back a guy like LaRaven Clark, who wasn't that good when he was here in the first place. Chris Hubbard is a name that always gets floated around to the Steelers, but he's 34 years old. Like, there's just nobody out there right now that you're looking at going, this guy, he can make a difference. He could be the answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe Michael Dunn, but I don't even feel good about that one because Cleveland's line last year was not that great. There just aren't options out there, and the Steelers need an option. And to me, that's their most pressing need for sure. Like, you could go wide receiver 2. I really do think it's, if you don't have a left tackle, a swing left tackle, and Broderick is bad, or Troy goes down because he's dealt with injuries in the past, you're in a lot of trouble. Like, a lot of trouble as the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. I'll give you my list here. It relays a little bit off of yours. We'll start with the easy one, and that is replace Cordero Patterson. I mean, I got 3 names here that the Pittsburgh Steelers could go out and sign today that I'd feel better about having on the roster, even if they don't make it, than having Cordero Patterson. Dearness Johnson, who at one time tore up the Pittsburgh Steelers as a member of the Cleveland Browns, has great kick returning ability, super fast. I'm all about it. Like, if you want to go get another young, I think he's 27 years old, running back that could be a kick returner and compete for a job, cool. Sounds good. That's a name I would go out and get before I'd keep Cordero Patterson on the roster. Deontay Hardy, a dude who played for the Ravens last year, who dealt with injury, who's an all-pro in the past as a kick returner. I mean, why not? You know, why wouldn't you look at a name like that and say, well, he's an option, and he's young, and he's still got a bunch of speed in his game, and maybe, just maybe, the new kick return rules work for him if he gets an opportunity, can stay healthy. Again, training camp body, not a guy that's going to take up a spot in the wide receiver room that you have to worry about. Certainly a guy that could, I mean, if you only keep 3 running backs and 6 wide receivers, and one of them's your kick returner, you feel pretty okay about it. And then the last one here, who's dealt with injuries the last 2 years, you're taking a risk on him, but I think that risk might be worth it. Again, he's a training camp body. Nothing's guaranteed in this line of work, but Nyheim Hines is still on the board. He had a workout with the Texans last month. I heard that he's getting very close to being ready to play again. And if he is, I mean, this dude's a stud when healthy. It's been 2 years, and you got to feel bad for the guy. But if he's healthy, again, a training camp body that you're bringing in here to see if it works. That's my issue with Cordero, is he's not a training camp body. You don't bring in Cordero Patterson. You don't have Cordero Patterson to run your 4th string offense where he's out there taking 2 reps and seeing what he could do, and you're watching him going, oh, that guy's impressive. No, Cordero should be very impressive against 4th string defenders, and if he's not, it's because he's not trying, and the Steelers aren't getting a real look at him. I like options that are younger, have a boatload of speed behind them, and again, are just camp bodies. Number 2, I'm with you on the Beanie Bishop. I like Beanie. I think he's got potential. I'm excited to see what the Steelers can do with them, but I say go get somebody else. Asante Samuel Jr. is going to get a checkup at the end of July. If it's before training camp, you sign him the day that he's available to sign and he's open to signing. Go get Asante Samuel Jr. Go get a Mike Hilton. I don't care. Arthur Millett's still on the market if you want to test him out, which I'm not saying these are better options, but I think they're options, and the Steelers need them right now because they don't have any. I'm not comfortable giving a second-year undrafted guy who got benched last season for Cam Sutton just handing him the starting job and saying, okay, sounds good. Things are just fine. I'd go get Asante Samuel Jr. tops that list. I don't think I'd be making a splash trade for Jalen Ramsey, but maybe, just maybe, if the price was right and you could figure it out, cool. My thought is simple. if the Pittsburgh Steelers are as all in as they appear to be, if they are ready to go win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, which is clearly what the message is, they didn't sign Aaron Rodgers to go win a playoff game and end a streak and say, there it is, guys, we're back. That's not what they did. They went out and they are going all in on this season. Go all in. Go get your corner, your slot corner. I think Asante Samuel Jr. is the move if healthy, but there are other options out there as well. And I'd be okay with the veteran. I would be. For a 1-year deal on Mike Hilton, I wouldn't be upset about it whatsoever. And then number 3, I have it kind of backwards from you. I would not go sign or go get a wide receiver 2 until probably middle of training camp. I would hold off on the position all summer long, and I would let everybody freak out about it, and I would feel totally fine, but I would not go get a wide receiver 2. And the reason I wouldn't go get a wide receiver 2 is because the Steelers have 2 guys that they want to get some sort of look at. And on top of that, they don't have the options that they need to have. And that's going to change. At some point, they're going to be able to call teams like the Saints. At some point, they're going to be able to call teams like Washington. At some point, they're going to call teams like Houston and say, hey, who's available? Are these guys available? That's not an option right now. You don't get to call the Saints and have real talks about a trade because the Saints think they're going to win a Super Bowl with freaking Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck until they realize both of those options are awful and they're not going to win a Super Bowl this season. Then they're going to start thinking, okay, who do we move on from? How do we create cap space? How do we look towards the future and prepare ourselves for next year and the years after that? Chris Olave is a name. Terry McLaurin's a name. Anybody, Houston's got 45 wide receivers. Anybody in Houston is a name. There will be options. You are going to rush and jump the gun. And I, to be honest with you, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, and you end up with Gabe Davis, who's half of what he used to be, you're just kicking yourself 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, because now there's talks again about what you have to do at the trade deadline. If you wait it out, Romeo Doubs might be available. Christian Watson might be available. Again, Chris Olave might be available. There are names out there that might make some sense for the Steelers. I would hold off on signing a wide receiver 2. I think it's too early, and that is my list. Replace Cordero, get competition for Beanie that hopefully starts over him, and then sit your butt down and wait until August to go get a wide receiver.
Is there anyone, as you were putting together your list, is there anyone that you feel any more confident about being available in the middle of training camp for the wide receiver 2 position than right now? Or is there anyone that maybe we haven't mentioned before? Because I think that's where I get stuck, is like, I agree with the sentiment that you're providing here of, they need to wait it out because better options are probably on the horizon. I have a hard time looking at who will be those like camp casualties or like who might be on the outs around the NFL that could actually be an upgrade at the wide receiver 2 position.
I think it's too early, but there will be names. Okay. What's Christian Kirk's outlook on Houston do for that wide receiver core? You know what I mean? Right. Does it open up the door for a John Mechie? Does it open up the door for a Christian Kirk? Do they realize very quickly, nah, we don't really have the room for him. We got to move on from a guy like that. Green Bay has got a ton of options, and I don't know what one's going to be available, but you don't have 5 good wide receivers. It just doesn't happen, especially when already some of those wide receivers were complaining last season about not being involved enough. You don't go and add another guy and then say, oh, yeah, Wicks and Romeo Doubs are all of a sudden, they're just going to be super happy about this situation. There'll be other teams. I think it's a little bit early to guess those teams. But I do Denver's got 14 wide receivers. They're all middle tier wide receivers, but there's a bunch of them out there. And I think at some point,
they're a Super Bowl contender.
Dan
Orlovsky said they're a Super Bowl contender.
According to Dan Orlovsky. And they have a better wide receiver core than the Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Dan Orlovsky, because the Steelers only have DK, and that's their star. But Denver has no stars, and that makes them better. Yeah, great logic on that one. I would say Denver's a team to watch. I think Kansas City will be a team to watch. They have a lot of options, to be really honest. But again, like it's too early to guess, but I imagine like that's what we're going to hit. We're going to hit the point in the summer where teams realize, okay, we need this instead of that, or we need a draft pick here, or this guy's not going to play his best values. Players value peaks near the end of training camp. Like that's when everybody is going, okay, we need to make this last minute move to go get this guy or that guy. And to me, that's when you're going to have to give up a pretty penny for these guys, but it's when it makes the most sense. That's why near the end of training camp, you want to know whose name's going to be floating out there as a trade away from the Pittsburgh Steelers? Mason Rudolph. People will be talking Mason to this team, Mason to that team, because there will be teams that say we need a quarterback or we need a backup quarterback, and the Steelers are going to be a team that everybody looks at. Will they trade him? No. But will teams call? Probably, just like the Lions did a couple of years ago. This is what happens all the time. So I just think that you wait until August, things change for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So you think it'll be a trade just to be like that,
unless somebody gets released, but I don't think it's Amari. I don't think it's Keenan Allen. I mean, I could look again. I have the free agents here in front of me.
Yeah,
I don't think
the actual free agents available are not good or enticing. I know we talked a lot about all those guys before, but yeah, and that's what I meant too a couple minutes ago, where I was like, I don't project anyone to be like anyone surprising that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks from Green Bay, Houston, whoever else being released. I think it's obviously too early to tell for sure, but in my mind, it seems like, trade's probably the only way to get that true number 2 wide receiver at this point.
Yeah.
So too early to tell. I accept it. But I think a trade sounds like what the most likeliest route is.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I think the Steelers are going to jump on somebody at some point. They're just, I mean, unless you're sitting here going, and you could go through them, the list is really tiny. Keenan Allen's not coming to Pittsburgh. He made that known. Amari Cooper, I don't think is on the Steelers' radar. I think he would have been here already. Gabe Davis is, but we'll see what happens there. Nelson Aguilar, I'm pretty sure maybe retired. If not, we're good. DJ Chark, it wouldn't be the worst option, but definitely not a wide receiver 2. Tyler Boyd would never come to Pittsburgh. The Steelers don't want him. Brandon Powell, I don't even know who that is. Chris Conley, maybe, but he's 32 years old. Jamison Crowder's 32. Deontay Hardy's a name I tossed out there. And then after that, you're going Gunnar Olszewski and Allen Robinson. And the Steelers, they're not a double dipping team. I just think I think they'd be okay. I think it's a trade. I think a trade makes too much sense for the Steelers. Will it happen? I mean, we'll see. But I do think that a trade for a wide receiver makes a lot of sense. All right. Any last comments on our to-dos this offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers before we start diving into questions?
I love you, Cordero. I'm so sorry.
Cordero is a good dude. Like, that's the thing is he's but a lot of those guys are, some of them you're just like, okay, that guy deserved to get traded. Like, get him out of here. He's a cancer. And there have been some that have played for the Pittsburgh Steelers recently. Some, like Cordero, good dude. And you're just going, man, that guy's he's just too old. He's just too old to play football at the position that he needs to play. All right. That's everything on our agenda today. Let's start diving into questions. Toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. First, we're going to take a quick break.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to all of our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Macaroni salad, my friend. I saw you in here. Oh, potato salad. Excuse me. What's up, guys? Macaroni, if you're in here, we better have got a call last night to our call-in show on Wednesday. With that said, start tossing your questions in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. We're going to start with a fan favorite, Maddie here. Do you think there is a real possibility that we get Chris Olave, or is this just a dream and we get a lower name wide receiver? I think it's too early to give a definite on if the Steelers get a name as big as Chris Olave, but I don't think it's too early to say they're going to try. They are going to try to get a name like Chris Olave. They're going to try to get somebody who's that top tier wide receiver 2 who comes in here with no questions asked, is an instant contributor. That's what the Steelers would like to do. This is not last season where they're content, with things going on. This is not years past where they're just saying, well, we have veterans and we're going to win through the ground. No, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to try to win with Aaron Rodgers and company, and they're going to give him the best options that they can. I think Chris Olave, which is again why I preach patience, because Chris Olave will become more available. These names will become more available in August than they are right now. And I think the Steelers are going to make some phone calls. So I would say there's a real possibility. I wouldn't guarantee anything. I wouldn't even bank on it, but I think the Steelers are going to try for sure, unless you feel different.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're going to try for sure. I think how you describe it is too early to tell right now. I just feel like there is not a real possibility of getting Chris Olave right now. Kind of saying the same thing because it could change, obviously. But I feel like the most realistic outcome for the Steelers is a quote unquote lower name, to use Maddie's wording here, who comes in to be the extra wide receiver for the Steelers. So I'd love for it to be different, but I think it's not a huge possibility. I'd put it pretty low chances right now.
Yeah, right now where we sit today, I would say, but again, like right now there are too many other options, and the Steelers are obviously active, and I think that plays a role into all this. They might have less patience than me and you sitting here, but then again, me and you sitting here just get to talk about the Steelers. We don't actually get to try to win a Super Bowl with them, so they have a little bit more pressure on them than us. Cody Silva here. Do you think Rodgers is going to be 2020 Big Ben and get the ball out of his hands as fast as he can do we have the weapons to do that? Excuse me, sorry. I do think that the Steelers have the weapons to move quickly. I think that Rodgers gets the ball out of his hands as fast as anybody in the NFL still, which is very impressive. I mean, I don't look at Aaron Rodgers as a guy that's going to come in here and try to throw home run balls all the time. That's what Russell Wilson did all the time. That's not who Aaron is. Like, Aaron throws a beautiful deep ball, but Aaron a lot of times finds the guy on a quick slant to make moves. He finds the Devontae Adams on a quick out route. Like, that's what Aaron does really, really well. I don't know about the fastest in the NFL and as quick as Ben, because Ben had to get out quick because of how bad that offensive line was. But I do think that the Steelers are going to base their offense out of faster, get the ball into these guys' hands and let them do their thing than sitting around launching them up to, a George Pickens.
Yeah, I think the big difference is the offensive line and the expectation there. There was, oh my gosh, was it 2020 the Kendrick Green year at center?
2020 was the Kendrick Green year. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
the Trey Turner year. Everybody seems to forget the Trey Turner.
He was supposed to be so much better than he ended up being.
People look at their offensive line all the time, and Kendrick Green's the guy that stands out, but people do not go back and look, guys. It is so brutal how bad. Kevin Dotson is literally standing there going, I am trying so hard, guys. Like, I am trying so hard to make this happen. And Trey Turner and Kendrick Green are just, oh, damn. That was fast. All right, there it is, sack. Ooh. And then they just stand around. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I think Rodgers will have a slightly cleaner pocket to operate out of, fingers crossed. So he shouldn't need to get rid of the ball in under 2 seconds, some like ungodly fast amount. But I do think the weaponry in the Steelers passing game is very quick. We've talked about Calvin Austin being one of the truly one of the fastest receivers in the NFL. I think Roman Wilson, if he stays healthy and earns that spot, can get off the line of scrimmage very quickly. DK obviously can. So yeah, I think there's weapons all around in tight end position as well that they can get off the line pretty quickly and be open for Rodgers if needed. But hopefully it's not a situation where it's like, you got to get the ball out so quick or else you're going to get sacked. It needs to be a little bit more controlled. But yeah, all that being said, I don't expect 2020 Big Ben, but I think we have to leave room for the possibility.
Yeah, I agree. Big Al here. If Isaiah Bond is not guilty by week 1, do we sign him even if we traded for somebody already? That's a really tough answer to give. Isaiah Bond is not a name the Steelers are considering right now. He's not a name that's on their radar. They aren't having conversations about him. They do not even look at Isaiah Bond as an option where we sit today. That much I know. So if something changes, I'm not totally sure if their mind would change, but going off of how they view him now, he is not a name they're even considering. So, and that includes like if his legal status changes and he's welcome back to the NFL and teams start looking at him, which I'm sure that he'll get interest right off the bat if he does get out of whatever situation he's currently dealing with or however that's resolved. But I don't know if the Steelers would be a team that call him. Now, if the Steelers don't trade for anybody and don't add anybody, I think it improves their odds of at least looking into the situation and considering it. But if they do add someone, I think Isaiah's not an option for them and they'd move on. But I have been, because obviously Isaiah Bond is a name that gets brought up quite a bit. So I ask questions about him whenever I get an opportunity. And I've been told that he's not even on their radar. Like he's not even remotely a conversation within the building at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. Would you view Isaiah Bond, because I want to avoid the legal stuff, but would you view Isaiah Bond as a capable wide receiver too, if he were in Pittsburgh?
No. Yeah. And I don't want to talk about the legal stuff either. But no, as a wide receiver too, there's not, does very little in terms of attraction right now. I'm just like, no, that would just seem to be like one of the other names that we've talked about, a name in the bunch. So yeah, it doesn't do a lot for me. And I will 100% agree with you. Like anybody is brought in, signed, traded, whatever the situation is, that eliminates the possibility of any other name that we've heard some chatter about being on the Steelers roster. So I wouldn't put any sort of stock in the Isaiah Bond talk or possibility right now.
Yeah, I just, he gives me John Mechie vibes, talented in college, but obviously like a lot of speed and route running wasn't as crisp as maybe they thought. And you never know what happens there, but I don't think he'd be an immediate wide receiver too. Thomas here. Why is Cordell Patterson still on the roster? Give me your best guess on why Cordell Patterson is still not on the roster.
Arthur Smith?
Or still on the. Do you think it is? Do you think realistically? Do you think that Arthur Smith's that in love with Cordell Patterson? I'm not trying to say no. I'm asking genuinely.
No. And no. I think it's a really fair question. I don't think it's realistic. If you're asking me to gather a guess,
yeah.
I know there is like a loyalty within the Steelers organization. Like if, you're our guy, but like tough decisions get made all the time and people lose their spot on the roster. So I'm trying to think like, what is the relationship aspect with a certain coach so exceptional, or like, is what he provides off the field so worth it for a certain part of the team that he's worth what you're paying him salary wise? I don't understand. But I think maybe Arthur Smith is the only guess I could come up with, unless like, again, he and Tomlin are like so close as well that there's something that he adds that's not just, yards gained on the field or something like that. Do you have anything that can make more sense than that?
I don't. That's the craziest part is it doesn't make sense. I don't think Arthur Smith's sitting around pounding the table saying I'm leaving. You get rid of Cordell Patterson, I'm out. I'm no longer calling plays. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think it's Tomlin. I think Tomlin loves the guy and he's just like, this dude is hard. This is a football player. But the problem is that he's got like Landon Roberts walked. Landon Roberts is a football player. You know what I mean? That's a guy that it just does. None of it makes sense to me. None of it. You save cap space if you get rid of them. You could use cap space right now. You save a roster spot, which you could utilize right now. You don't have the constant conversation of what is happening. And if he's here, he doesn't show up to OTAs. Like he's doing very minimal and it doesn't make sense to me. There's no part of this that says Cordell is just the guy that the Steelers they got to have because he's good for morale. What does that mean? He calls out the team constantly on social media. Like it just doesn't, none of it adds up in my eyes to make any sense, to be honest with you. So I don't even have a guess. I have 0 because again, like it's not even like the Cordero's a leader and that's why he's here. He's called the Steelers out on social media like 5 times. Once was just because they didn't wish him happy birthday on Snapchat and he's pissed off about it. This dude is not somebody that I wish I had an answer for you, Thomas. I do. I don't have one. There is no bigger mystery in Pittsburgh right now than this question right here.
Can I add a little bit of fuel to the fire before we hit the next question?
Please do.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but like I would guess if you didn't have Cordero Patterson's cap hit, you could fit Jalen Ramsey's cap hit for this year with no problem. Is that I think his cap hit is low. I'm not sure about the actual like
Jalen is 16 points some for Jalen this season, which isn't, I mean, that's doable for the Steelers. I think Cordero, when he's gone, you save about $6 million if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I mean, that gives you with TJ, that gives you the cap space that you want and some, so you could still go get a wide receiver too. So it makes sense. Like you could go do it, but you want to know who you could do with that $6 million. You go get Asante Samuel, you go get Gabe Davis with ease, you go sign Mike Hilton. Like you could, it doesn't matter what you're doing with it. That's $6 million for a 4th string running back. That is
wild.
Kenneth Gainwell. Let's see what his contract is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He signed a 1-year, $1.7 million deal. And Cordero Patterson is he's $3 million. He's $3 million hit.
The total was $6 million.
$3.75 million cap hit this season. You save just under $3 million if you cut him. You save just 2.85 or something $million. You're still paying your 4th string. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Thomas so not the flexibility I thought, but geez, oh man, that's a crazy cap hit for him.
Crazy one. Thomas has a suggestion. Send him to Miami for Ramsey. Fair deal.
Fair deal. 1-for-1. Yeah, easy.
Straight up. You want a guy with speed who could do everything? Give Mike Tomlin 5 minutes. He convinced whoever the GM is in Miami that they got a fair price here. Dominic Sage, Noah, I tried so hard not to fall in love with Will Howard. How's his passes look? Does he look like college was a ceiling? And have you seen him use any of Aaron Rodgers' advice? Love from Maryland. Shout out, Dominic. I think I'll give you a very honest answer about Will Howard. I'll keep it consistent from everything that I've been saying. He looks inconsistent out there. He looks like a 6th round rookie quarterback. That's not a bad thing because he is a 6th round rookie quarterback. I don't know if Will Howard ever exceeds what he did at Ohio State, but to be quite honest with you, I am maybe amongst the few within the Steelers realm who thinks that Will Howard looked really bad for most of his Ohio State career. Like he did not. You want to go Will Howard at OTAs and at minicamp looks exactly like Will Howard looked during the college football playoff. Penn State, they should have lost that game because of Will Howard. Hands down, without question. Penn State lost themselves a game that Ohio State tried desperately to lose because of Will Howard. No, like go rewatch that. He looks awful in that game. Notre Dame, he plays like a stud. And that's how he looks right now. Is sometimes he shows up and he looks really good. Sometimes he shows up and he looks really bad. And you're going, all right, this is what it is. But that's okay because he's a 6th round rookie. And if we're being realistic about it, his starting point is as low as it could get because you draft 6th round rookies to be 6th round rookies. That's what you do. You don't bring these guys in to be starting quarterbacks. You bring them in to be 3rd, 4th string quarterbacks and try to make the team. I think he's got a spot on this roster. I think he looks good enough to give him a spot on the roster. I don't think he looks good enough to surpass Mason Rudolph or to be viewed as the next long-term starter of the Steelers. I think he looks very inconsistent, but I do think when he looks good, and that's great if he could continue to build on that. Again, that's why the Steelers brought him in, is because they see the inconsistency, but they see the good side of it, and they think that he could remain and grow and become more consistent. And if that's the case, awesome. But right now, that's what he looks like. He looks like a 6th round rookie. Totally fine. Working with Aaron Rodgers is going to help a ton. Working with Aaron Rodgers for 3 days isn't going to do much, but you know, when we get to training camp and you get a full year under your belt working with them, I think it's going to do a good chunk of benefit for Will Howard. The problem is next year they're going to draft somebody to surpass him. So he'll be a long-term backup, but that's okay because if your long-term backup quarterback's good, that's a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have if you have two good quarterbacks, but he looks inconsistent, I would say is my answer.
Yeah, like a rookie. I mean, I think he looks
Like
like
a
a rookie who's, new on the job and learning. And I'll add one bit of positivity here for Dominic's question here. When I was there on the final day of minicamp, I was with some of the people who talked to Will, and he did give a very specific example of Aaron Rodgers giving him some tools and tips on his 5-step drop. And he said it was I think it was something about him coming back a little wider or something on that final step, or some little tidbit, something only a 20-year vet NFL quarterback could give to him. And he said that he tried it. He got the tip on the second day of camp or something, and then tried it the next day and said it felt a little bit more comfortable than what he had done before. So maybe there's some small things to learn. And it seems like Howard is eager to learn those things and absorb those things. So if he can use it to his benefit, excellent. But yeah, everything else Noah's saying is unfortunately or unsurprisingly, depending on what your outlook was on Howard, is very accurate.
I think unsurprising. It's not unfortunate. I think Will Howard's got a ton of potential to grow, but again, we're 3 weeks into this and he looks like I wouldn't be that good in 3 weeks. It wouldn't be enough time for me to develop. So nobody should have the expectation of him being starter this year. Nobody should have the expectation of him really. You could have the hope of wanting him to become a starter, but you just got to watch him grow, and you can't have biased eyes. And I think that's where we're at right now, which again, I like Will. I want him here forever. So I'm a big fan of who he is as a quarterback and as a football player, really, if we're going to be totally honest. Higher power. Did you hear Mike Tomlin drop a hard as well? That was awesome. And he corrected himself. That was so cool. Yinzer Joe, honestly, are we worried that if any player goes down on offense or defense, are we out of contention? Can they get by losing DK or Warren or maybe Rodgers? Do we not make the playoffs if one goes down? I think right now, if any of them, DK goes down, I mean, obviously if Aaron Rodgers goes down, you're in some serious trouble, but I don't know. Like the way I look at it is Mason could spot start 5 games and I trust him to win 4 of them. Like I think he could pull it off. DK goes down for 5 games. If you don't have another wide receiver before the season, I have no faith that you're going to be able to do anything through the passing game. Jalen goes down. I have a lot of faith in Kenneth Gainwell and Caleb Johnson. That's the least of my worries, to be honest with you. Obviously your quarterback's the biggest one, but DK might be the biggest blow that the Steelers could suffer, right? Which again means that they need to go get somebody, unless you feel differently.
No, I think offensively DK stands out for sure. I'd be fine if Mason had to start a couple games. Cordero Patterson is the greatest running back in Steelers history. So if Jalen goes down, we have, plenty of options. But no, I really do believe in Gainwell and Caleb Johnson. Defensively, I think is where I get really worried about a potential injury, because say Joey Porter Jr. gets injured, or say Darius Slay gets injured, and this is, that's your secondary now does not have one of those players, you're screwed. Your secondary is absolutely done. If I think the edge is a true, and the line has gone from weakness to strength for the Steelers, over this offseason with how they've drafted and once they get TJ Watt locked up as well. But if someone gets hurt, there's big expectations, there's huge potential along the defensive line. But if Cam Hayward isn't there, or if TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith, one of those players, aren't there, yes, there is depth behind them, but wow, doesn't it feel like they are a much worse team if one of those players misses 4 or 5 games? Like I think they could get by without Rodgers for a couple of games. They could get by without having a full arsenal of running backs for a few games. You're definitely in trouble without DK Metcalf. But if you lose your star defense, your $100 million defense, you lose any key parts of that, you're done. You're screwed.
I agree. And I like Corey Trice, but I don't know if I could trust Corey Trice yet. And until proven otherwise, it's a big, big concern. Big Al here. We have a nasty front 7 and a couple of stud rotational guys. What do you expect from them this season? Big things. I think this is the best the Steelers front 7 has looked in since Shazier. since Shazier got hurt. I think that's the last time I looked at this front seven and said they're that good. If Patrick Queen clicks, awesome. If Derek Harmon's good, which I have full expectations that he's going to be, awesome. If TJ Watt signs and figures it out, unbelievable. If Peyton Wilson takes a step forward and becomes a 3-down back, unreal. I mean, they're just, you don't have missing pieces. You have more depth than you've had in a ton of years. That's a weird sentence. In a long time. And you have linebackers that have potential, because that's what it's always been, is like, I mean, you could go back 2 years ago where nothing looked good. You had Larry Ogunjobi, Cam Hayward, and I mean, Montravius Adams, which shout out, love Mont, but wasn't a guy. And then you had Miles Jack and Michael Walker finishing your season, and you're going, this is awful. This group of players is really, really bad. There is no missing piece here, and the depth is good. I mean, I think it looks, plus, like, people sleep on guys like Malik Harrison, who I think is going to be a valuable depth piece for the Steelers at linebacker. Like, to me, there is a lot of potential in this group.
For sure. Yeah. And I think the only thing that I need to see, or the only expectation I want to set for them, is that because it is so improved, because the depth is so improved, like, can they become a top 5 rushing defense? I'm pretty sure they were like 8th in rushing yards allowed per game last year. Like, they weren't a bad rushing defense, but you could tell that there was like some problems there, which is why the D line was addressed in the first round. But I think, with that, if you have such a good rotation going, and you have all of these really strong pieces filling roles efficiently, man, I would love to see them be a top 3 or top 5 rushing defense. That would really feel like a blast from the past for Steelers defenses.
Yeah. I agree. To kind of go off of that, Cody Silva here, Orlando Roberts was our inside linebacker that was nasty and stopped the run, who's taking that role this year. Cole Holcomb's going to be looked at as that guy, I think, but they're expecting Patrick Queen to take a step forward. Like, Patrick Queen's got to be their all-around 3-down linebacker. Peyton Wilson's got to take a step forward, but Cole Holcomb's that guy. Like, he's the bruiser. He's now the physical inside linebacker. I think that's who he was and how well he played before the injury. He would be my guess on who the Steelers are looking at, is like, okay, it's starting whatever, who we putting out there, Cole Holcomb and Patrick Queen. That's kind of how I view it.
Do you see any potential for, like, Peyton Wilson to add like a thumper sort of like element to his game? Like, I know he can tackle, he can be all around the ball, but like Landon Roberts being that just like put his head down and jump into a running back is not really something I saw from Wilson as a rookie. But do you think that's part of the next step of his evolution?
I do. I think it's got to be the next step of his evolution, but I just don't know if that's going to come in year 2. He's a skinny dude. Skinny's a weird word, but he's a smaller dude for the linebacker position. We'll see how it fits, how it plays out, but he is a smaller guy. I do think the Steelers expect him to take that step, though. Got a couple here on Jalen Ramsey. Maddie, do we think the Jalen Ramsey news is real? Going down here a little bit. I lost it. Oh, is it true from Milton that the trade price for Ramsey is a 5th round pick? Would you give up a 5th round pick for Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah. I give up a 5th round pick in 2026 for sure.
Yeah, without question. I wouldn't even think about it. I think that's exactly what I'd give up, and I'd feel really good about it, and I'd take on his full contract, and we'd figure it out next year. That's how I would look at it for sure. Egyptian Roughneck, good thing we passed on Shedeur Sanders. Hasn't even thrown a ball and already getting pulled over for speeding 100 miles per hour and failure to appear in court. Praise Omar. Look at the Steelers didn't want. I can't give away everything I know, because like, and some of it's like, if you ever catch me at a bar, a couple beers in, maybe we'll have a good conversation. But like, there were some people in Pittsburgh who were really anti Shedeur Sanders, and those people, they deserve some praise, my friend. They deserve some praise.
Did you see the clip of Shedeur on X at like a charity softball game or something? And someone asked like about the speeding ticket, and he was like, "I'm just a boy."
No, that's so awesome though.
That cracked me up, man.
That's awesome. That's so
I'm
awesome.
a real boy.
All right, keeping the truck in here. Nate Moore has got a couple for us. Now that Aaron Rodgers is here, T-minus blank until Alan Lazard. I'll say this. So I was told, Mike Florio said it first. I checked in on it. It actually came out to be true. Surprising, I know. With Alan Lazard, doesn't really want to come to Pittsburgh. Like, he wants to stay in New York and have a reputation outside of Aaron Rodgers, which is, I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? But at 30 years old, come on, pal. If your career was Aaron Rodgers, you're not a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Show up in Pittsburgh, have a good role, play well. What is the difference? You know, I just don't think that in 10 years, people are going to be like Alan Lazard, the guy that was only good with Aaron Rodgers. No, they're going to be like Alan Lazard. I don't remember who that is. Yeah, that guy. Like, you know, at the next time in 10 years, it'll be name that random football player, Alan Lazard. Somebody's quote tweeting it. So shout out. That's how he should go about it. But that I've heard the same things that many have heard on Alan Lazard. Darnell Washington, too slow to play fullback. I think too big to play fullback. I think that's my problem here. Is you put Jalen Warren behind him. I just don't think Jalen like has any idea what's going to happen. I just don't think like Jalen's running, and like if Darnell gets pushed backwards for some crazy reason, I just don't think it could happen. I don't
His
think
backside would concuss Jalen Warren.
Yeah, easy. He'd throw him
That's crazy.
4 yards backwards. I just don't think it could happen. Let's be honest, okay? Let's be really, really honest. Darnell is closer to being a left tackle than he is a fullback or anything else. So, let's move him there first. Fullback, Connor Hayward's, the little guys. The little guys play fullback. That's who plays fullback. 603 Yinzer, what do you think about trading for Dotavian Wicks? I mean, to go off of the Alan Lazard thing, doesn't want to play with Rodgers. Wicks probably does. Is he a wide receiver 2 in your eyes, though?
More so than Isaiah Bond. So than probably that. Maybe this is crazy. Actually, I don't think this is crazy. But I would see him as more viable wide receiver 2 than Gabe Davis right now. I think, if you could get him, I think he gives you he's really a wide receiver 3 for me, I think. But I think I would have enough, I don't know, faith in his potential to let him try to be a wide receiver 2. And I think maybe the benefit of having DK above him and Calvin Austin right behind him could do enough to really make him a legitimate wide receiver 2. I think that's actually a really good suggestion, 603 Yinzer.
What about Jim D here? What do you think about reaching out to Carolina for Adam Thielen?
No. Does nothing for me. Sorry, Jim.
I agree. I just think that I think he's good, but I think he's too, like, I don't know. He plays the slot, first of all. That's the biggest if, which they need an outside guy. And you just don't know when it's going to fall off. I don't think I'd be in on Adam. I think maybe down the line, if we're talking trade deadline, need a wide receiver, can't miss on it again, different conversation. But I think right now, it might not be where I'm going. All right, Big Al here. Start bench cut. Zach Wilson, Sam Hartman, or Mason Rudolph. Shout out.
That's a good one.
I mean, I'm starting Mason Rudolph. I'm benching Zach Wilson. I'm cutting Sam Hartman, right?
I mean, based off of performance in the NFL, 1,010%. Based off of rugged good looks and beard growing abilities, I think Sam Hartman is on the bench and Zach Wilson gets cut.
I agree, dude, but I saw everyone in the NFL is bigger, scarier, stronger, and definitely better looking than me. But I saw Sam Hartman in person for the first time, and I said, dude, you're as big as I am. Like, me and you are equal humans, like you have great hair and a better beard than me. But if I focus on the jawline for like 2 months, I think I could look like you. I think we could, I think we could do this. So I don't know. Zach Wilson, man. Zach Wilson's got tape to put. He's got tape to prove it. He's got tape to, Mason Rudolph's going to end up on The Bachelor one day. Guarantee it. Cody Silva, if Joey Porter Jr. only got 1 INT last year and Slay had 0 with the Eagles, defensive line, are we going to have to rely on our safeties for interceptions? Yes and no. I mean, you look at my thing with Darius Slay last year is he was targeted significantly less at times during the season than he has in years past. But also, I mean, he's just like a guy that like the ball's not even like it's not making it there. Like he's just he's going to out physical anybody out there, and that's how I view it. Joey Porter Jr. I look as a slump year. So yeah, I do think that interceptions are going to have to come from the safeties this season, but Darius Slay has a track record of like coming up with the ball. You know, he's got last year was 0. It's his only other season. It's his only season outside of his first season where he's got 0 interceptions in a year. So I don't imagine that trend continues.
Yeah, and I also just don't see. I know we talked about Minka, maybe getting close to his career high in interceptions this year if he has like bounce back like we've been sort of anticipating. But I don't see like Deshaun Elliott, suddenly becoming like a 5 interception guy or something out of nowhere. I think I think the corners are still going to be relied on to be turnovers, forcing turnovers via interceptions. So yeah, I think they just have to hope it improves and not look towards other parts of the defense for that answer.
Yeah, I agree. All right, keeping it trucking here. Doug B, hey Noah, can the black and gold apparel get 3X hoodie? Writing it down now. I actually think I have it here, so I apologize for that. 3XL hoodie. Got you, my friend. I'll have that updated today after I remember that I got to pay taxes because I forgot about that a couple of days ago. My accountant called me this morning. It's 6:15 in the morning. It should be illegal to get calls that early, that stressful of a phone call. And did you pay your taxes this week? No, I didn't. You're calling me now. Shout out, my friend. Savo, hello from Scranton. What's good, my dude? Noah, what throwback jersey do you think the Steelers unveiled this summer? First off, hope you're doing well up there. Hope it's not raining like it has been every day I've called my mom this week. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think that they rock something cool in Ireland, though. That's my guess. Don't know what one it's going to be, but I think they rock something cool in Ireland. Enigma After Dark. Are we still looking at Jonnu Smith or Kyle Pitts? I've heard Jonnu Smith talk has almost vanished. Maybe he comes back at some point, but I think that was simply just Adam Schefter trying to force a contract for Jonnu Smith because him and his agent are buddies. Kyle Pitts, I heard, is a real thing, but you're dealing with obviously the injury. I think training camp is when that thing can ignite once again, once they see kind of what they're looking for. I don't think Atlanta's like necessarily ready to move on from Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
That could change once they see him actually on a practice field. Would you go? This is a dumb question, but would you go Jonnu or Kyle Pitts, both even priced?
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I agree.
No question. Kyle Pitts. Yeah,
I agree. Enigma After Dark's got another one. Noah and Jacob, does our running back room have potential to be as good as the Lions duo, or is that too high of an expectation? I think it relies heavily on the offensive line. The Lions offensive line the last 2 seasons is unbelievable. They've obviously got hit with a retirement. I think they lost another guy this offseason. But to me, like the Lions offensive line was unmatched the last couple of seasons. That in my eyes, if the offensive line in Pittsburgh's good, I think their running game is very good. As good as Lions, we'll find out, but I think it comes down to the offensive line.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair response. I think the Lions running back room is probably too lofty of an expectation to place on the Steelers right now. But I think, if they show improvement from last year, that's my expectation for the Steelers in 2025 is for just the running back room to just improve upon 2024. And if they do that, then I think we could maybe have the conversation of, are they one of the elite running back rooms in the NFL? But I'm not quite ready to put that expectation on them yet.
I agree. All right, we'll finish it off with 2 from our boy Berg fan here. Bleacher Report ranked Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay as the number 3 cornerback combo in the league behind Texans and Ravens. I think that's pretty fair, to be honest with you. I don't think but I also don't know, like Philly's got to be up there. I think Detroit's got to be up there as well. Miami's would have been good if Artie Burns wasn't their starter opposite of Jalen, and they added somebody else. But I think they have potential to be top 5. Beanie Bishop, man, that determines everything in my eyes is Beanie Bishop. And then we'll finish it off with this one. If somebody hasn't said it already, that has to be a t-shirt. If my grandma had 2 wheels, she would be a bicycle. Shout out. We got some. If we had like a good, if I wasn't our graphic designer, I think we'd come up with some fantastic t-shirt ideas. So if there is any graphic designers out there, we're looking to do some freelance work, and we don't pay well, but we'll see what we could do here. Shoot me an email because we got some good t-shirt ideas. We got some good t-shirts ideas. All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Please, please, please go hit those Apple downloads and give us a 5-star review. And as always, find all of our work, even during the dead time, at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, I hope everybody enjoys a beautiful weekend in the Berg. We'll be back on Monday. Peace.